Hello, this is Roy, the history teacher, and I want to welcome you back to my Ultimate General Civil War campaign, which is being fought on Brigadier General Plus difficulty using the JMP Rebalance Mod version 1.29. One thing is going to be very different with this video, and it is when I recorded the battle, for some reason, and I guess when I laid my headset down, my microphone got turned off. So I have the entire battle recorded, but I did not capture my voice. And if you watch my videos, you know that I record, live while I'm playing. I don't go back and do a voiceover later to explain what I was doing. You're catching my initial reactions. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case this time. I have this battle here, and I'm doing a voiceover. The last battle fought was the Battle of Chantilly, and basically, I am watching the battle as it I'm watching a recording and trying to add a voiceover. But the Battle of Chantilly, I faced about 10,000 more Union infantry than I had, but you can see it was a victory. It was almost a complete clear. And career points now, we have politics at 3, economy 3, medicine 5, training 5, Army Org 9, logistics 3, and reconnaissance 4. And I can tell you that the point from this battle is going to go into logistics. That'll get me to logistics 4. That's because the armory will reset after the next major battle at Antietam, and so that 4 will help there be more goods in the armory. Now, as I said, unfortunately, I am basically having to watch a version of this and at the same time record a voiceover, so you're not catching my initial anything here. Not sure what all I was saying there that's keeping us on this screen for a little bit, but I will say that after the Battle of Antietam is over, all of my career points are going to start going into medicine and training. I am going to try to max those out, and then I will worry about bringing up the others. But I don't need that career point, extra career point in Army organization until the very end of the campaign. But I will start maxing out medicine and training after Antietam with all of the career points there. So, we just went into the Army map, and I'm showing you that First Corps is looks a little different because we can only take 15 brigades into this next battle, and you can see I've moved Longstreet down there to the Johnson's Corps temporarily. He'll come back for the Battle of Antietam. So these are the 15 brigades that are going to go to Antietam. I've also swapped out my skirmishers for Johnson's cavalry so I can take a full cavalry division into this battle at coming up at Weapons Factory. We have First Brigade with my three 2-star infantry plus battle, and then we have Jackson with Second Division and Leisure with Third Division, and that will be the cavalry division. So this is the force that's going to deploy. Obviously, I was saying a few other things, but I don't want to refight this battle. I fought this battle multiple times, and oh, I know what I was talking about there. I'm not just using the JMP rebalance mod. I'm using another mod from the Discord board that basically just makes a few user interface changes. That's why when you see my names there, they're in lowercase, not in uppercase like you might be seeing normally. And you can name your divisions with this mod. The only division you can't change is First Corps First Division, but all of the others you can. It does a couple other changes, like to the weapons view there. You can see on the screen, instead of having close, medium, far, it's got an actual number range. And that mod can be found under the submods in on the Discord board. All right, we're going to get ready to go to the battle here in a minute. I was not planning to fight this battle with First Corps. I wanted to fight this battle with Second Corps to get those guys some experience, and I even had shifted my Avatar King over to that Second Corps to command it because he's very close to getting his promotion to Lieutenant General. But after fighting it several times with Second Corps just didn't have the experience. We would get up to the top of the ridge, but the Union defense in this battle, they have some 2-star units, and so I was just getting pushed back. I couldn't fight my way out of the woods to capture the VP, and I was getting pushed back. So that is why I have decided now, this is probably about the 4th or the 5th playthrough, and I am going to take King's Corps in. Once again, I apologize for not having my live reactions because I laid my headset down and the button pressed. And this is a new experience. I hope this works. I've never tried to record a voiceover, so I'm having to watch the voiceover screen in one window while I'm watching my video in the other. And I have no idea when it's going to change. Talking about the cavalry here, I have Spears here under the command of Owens. Remember Spears, who was very instrumental in helping us win the Battle of Chantilly. He was wounded, so his brigade temporarily commanded by Owen. He's carrying Lamatz. So we're moving on, and we're going to fight the Battle of Weapons Factory. And I always laugh about this Battle of Weapons Factory because it's the Battle of Harper's Ferry. The game has a few of these battles like this that it renames. For example, you have Stay Alert, you have Ambush Convoy, and then you read a battle report that's like, we have fought Royce King at the Battle of Stay Alert or the Battle of Ambush Convoy, and it does not make any sense. And why this one is not called Harper's Ferry, I do not know. But this is Weapons Factory is the Battle of Harper's Ferry. I'm sure that if that could be changed, Panderkraut would have already changed it by now, and he has not. So it must not be something that can be changed. It's probably hardwired into the whole game mechanics. But it's okay. We're going to fight the Battle of Harper's Ferry, even though it's called Weapons Factory. You can see that we are at 8% over when we started the Antietam campaign, even though we had inflicted massive casualties on the Union at a Second Bull Run. They got 89,000 reinforcements, which pushed them to 12% over timeline strength. And so now they are at 8%. And I'm hoping that after the Battle of Harper's Ferry, aka Weapons Factory, that we will have knocked them back down to at least into the white. 5% over, 4% over would be great before this Battle of Antietam, because historically the Confederacy was outnumbered almost 2-1 at Antietam. A lot of contemporary sources say McClellan had about 75,000 men to Lee's 39,000, and that's almost a 2-1 advantage. McClellan did not commit his entire force, or he might have won the war right there in September of 1862. He held about 12 to 15,000 men back. But of course, when you read, you can't blame McClellan. The men he held back were very, very green. The Army of the Potomac up at Antietam was not the same Army of the Potomac from the peninsula. He had a lot of recruits. I think there was some 15 to 20 regiments that were green, had never seen battle before, were brand new, and I don't think you want to throw them at Lee's veterans. So we're going to move on in here to the battle now, and we're going to get our deployment screen. We're going to take Kings down there, and since I have dropped Longstreet's division temporarily out, we're going to have an accurate count here showing that we have 16,518. They're going to have 14,168 before splits. If you've never watched Gonzo Gamer's videos, Gonzo Gamer does a great job of explaining how the splits work and what you might face. Also, one thing I like to do here is if you look at the the maps for these minor battles, they are not unique for these minor battles. They use the bigger maps from the major battles, and this battle is the Battle of Bull Run. You can see Stony Ridge on the right side. You can see the railroad cut down at the bottom right above the 72 guns that I am taking into the battle. You have Groveton, which also doubles as Newport News in the second battle of the campaign. But this part of the map is kind of unique because you don't really use it in Battle of Bull Run. And in all the times that I have fought and played this game, I have never been on that side of the river doing anything that I can recall. I might have chased a router up there one time, but you don't fight there. So fighting this battle there is quite quite unique in that basically that you don't use this for anything else. So I'm having to keep a watch because my video here is about 45 minutes long, and this voiceover is only going to let me record a 30-minute voiceover. So I'll have to pause the video and save the voiceover, and then I'll have to record another voiceover, and then I'll be able to drop it in. At least that's what the instructions on Microsoft Clipchamp are telling me. We will see. So I think we're getting ready to start. I saw the start button highlight. Like I said, I have no recording of my voice from the actual battle fight because the mic button was off. Okay. Says you've been ordered to advance. See Harper's Ferry and capture the town, I think it said. The guard of Harper's Ferry has left the town and captured these heights to halt our advance. Capture the heights and clear the way to Harper's Ferry. All right, so we're going to get ready to start here. All right, I'm going to pause right here, and I'm actually going to check my voice over, so I'll pick back up right here. Okay, so I did verify that that first audio clip was working correctly, so I'm going to do the next clip here and add it into this video. So we're taking a look on the screen here. I'm getting ready to move my units into position, getting 1st Division lined up. I say it pretty much every time I have to do this, but these deployments at the beginning of these battles are crazy because nobody would deploy and be like, General Braxton, we're going to deploy the Corps. I want you to put 2 of your brigades on our left. I want your other 2 brigades on the right where you have absolutely no ability to command and control them. And then I want all of 2nd Division slammed in between them. Nobody would deploy like that. I don't know why you can't just get all of the divisions together. And once again, if it was fixable, I'm sure Panderkraut would have fixed it. But we're going to get 1st Division and 2nd Division lined up. I have in the past went ahead and placed my guys on the other side of the creek, but I was watching Gonzo Gamer's playthrough of this battle on the JMP mod 1.28.4, and he starts on this side, and then it made me wonder if by having my guys on the other side of the creek, if I was being spotted early by the Union. And so I decided I would go ahead and line up right here and cross the creek and move up. And then another thing I'm going to do here is try to stay low and out of sight. So let me get everybody positioned here. We'll start the battle. Of course, I will have to immediately pause and detach all the skirmishers. When I first started playing, I did not like the skirmishers. I couldn't figure out the skirmishers. I thought they were worthless. The more I have played, the more I've learned, the more I've come to love skirmishers. I detach every skirmisher pretty much right off the bat and get them out there. For those of you who are new to playing, the skirmishers can do a lot of things for you. You can get them out on the flank. They kind of draw a lot of attention. You can get some skirmishers out in front, and they'll draw artillery fire. So I'm not saying you should use them as bullet magnets, but I mean, you kind of can, because the more skirmishers you have out there running around, uh, the more targets the enemy has to target, and artillery will often target the closest thing to it. So if you've got an infantry brigade and you've got its skirmisher out about 200 yards in front of it, the artillery is going to target that skirmisher instead of your infantry. And the skirmishers can sustain damage a little better because they're spread out. Well, one of the things I'm doing here with this deployment is trying to make sure we stay below that ridge. If you kind of roll down, some people play top down. I kind of like to play this more 3D view, but if you roll down all the way, there's a pretty hefty ridge right there, and I am going to try to sneak up everybody kind of underneath that ridge. And that's one of the things I was thinking maybe I was being seen early and forcing allowing them to move on me. So for this playthrough, I am going to do that. One of my biggest fears using this core was I really had first core set, and first core is my primary core. Everybody plays with their primary core usually. And my problem is, and I've seen it before, is you play with that core, and so you use one core for most of the minor battles until very late in the game. You start getting some minor battles that you use two core. And that first core is very strong, but then your other core are not nearly as strong because they don't have the experience. Yes, they gain experience in camp, but they don't gain the experience that they would fighting. I was going to use second core for this battle. I really wanted to bring Johnson's core here and fight this battle with Johnson's core, but I fought it 4 times with Johnson's Corps, and I didn't win any because there's some 2-star infantry brigades up there at the top of that hill waiting, and Johnson's Corps doesn't have any. This all 1-star, and I would just get pushed off of the map. So we're going to move out here. And actually, I will go ahead and say, since I'm voiceovering post-battle, that the strategy actually worked pretty well. I think I was able to get up there, get a lot closer, and get deployed a lot better this way than I did when I started out on the other side of the creek. Like I said, not sure if I was just being seen early or what. I'm taking in 8 infantry brigades, all with detached skirmishers. I've got 4 cav brigades out there, and I'm bringing 3 artillery. One of them is a 12-pound howitzer with a horse perk, so it's going to be up the mountain fastest. When I use a cav division, kind of like I have and like I've been doing with that division, my normal setup for that 4th division or 5th when we get to the bigger corps, having at least 1 artillery brigade with a horse perk, and especially if you pair a horse perk with the light guns. A lot of guys like to phase those 6-pounders and those 12-pounder howitzers and those 6-pound field guns out as fast as they can. But I will tell you, if you keep at least one of those brigades around in your corps and pair it with a horse perk and put it with your cavalry, you got a artillery brigade that can scoot. Those light guns with the horse perk can outrun infantry across the battlefield. And in case you don't know, historically speaking, what horse artillery was and what that means is typical artillery in the Civil War era, they had the horses that pulled the cannon and pulled the ammo wagon. And some of the guys rode, but most of the cannon crew walked. So you could really only move as fast as the walkers. And what horse artillery did was it mounted everybody. Everybody was on a horse, so suddenly you could move a lot faster, and it was developed so that artillery could keep up with cavalry. And so that horse perk is an awesome perk. All right, I'm getting my cavalry in these woods. They're all staying hidden. I'm moving 1st Division skirmishers and 2nd Division skirmishers up to get them in the woods, hoping that they'll all stay hidden, and they do. Artillery's coming up the hill. That's the artillery brigade in the lead right there that has the horse perk, and you can see how much further ahead going up that mountain he already is over the other 2 brigades who are trailing way behind. And he does have 12-pound howitzers. I'm kind of torn between the 12-pound howitzers and the 6-pound field guns. That 12-pound howitzer does massive canister damage. The 6-pounder field gun tends to be a better gun overall through the damage range. Of course, neither one of them any good at shell range. You're okay with canister and shot, but once you start getting to shell, and to be honest with you, the Napoleon, which is my favorite gun in the game, I love me some Napoleons too, but the Napoleons, their shot damage is not very good, and I think one of the things I need to start doing is just putting them on fire mode where they're only firing at a canister and shell range, and then leave the shot firing to the rifle guns. Got a brigade of rifles coming up there. They're using the ordnance rifles. In my perfect world, as I organize, I like Napoleons and I like ordnance rifles. Now I know Panikraut and some of the guys they rave about the 24-pound howitzers, and those 24-pound howitzers, they're great, especially for defense, like at Fredericksburg. But the 24-pound howitzers and the 20-pound Parrots, they're slow. They're the heavy guns, and they're very slow to move. So if you have to move them, they take forever. The 10-pound Parrot, the 3-inch ordnance rifle, the Napoleons are medium guns, so they move quicker. But then, like I said, the light guns, they move pretty well. Now, in theory, one of the things I've thought about, in theory, the horse artillery could move almost as fast as cavalry unless cavalry was in a gallop. I have thought about going into the config file and seeing about editing the speed to get the light guns to move just a little bit faster, because while they do outrun infantry right now, they don't keep up with cavalry. And historically speaking, that was the whole idea of the horse artillery, was so that they could keep up with the cavalry. So I think the horse artillery with the light guns should be able to keep up with your cavalry. So I got my 12-pounders up, and they're starting to get deployed. I have made it much further up the ridge without getting shot at, but we're going to start getting some artillery. We have been seen now. A couple of my infantry brigades are spotted. The Union has a pretty large cavalry brigade up here, and that cavalry brigade is charging me right now, and road skirmishers are going to take the brunt of that. Now, on the one hand, I hated to lose road skirmishers right here. On the other hand, since it hit those skirmishers, it did not hit my infantry brigade. And I'm bringing cavalry up, but since I had them so far back, I really wasn't expecting that cavalry brigade to come charging down like that. Rhodes' infantry brigade routed them, but Rhodes' skirmishers is down to like 36 guys. So Alright, so routed him, drove him back. We're going to continue moving up the ridge to get in place here and try to get my Napoleons up and my ordnance rifles. My strategy here is to get up here, get deployed, and then to drive them out of the woods. There's no scenario where I want to attack that from the front, because that is a major, you can see how steep that hill is. So attacking up that hill in the open was just not something that I've ever wanted to try. I've always gone up the hill here. Now this battle, I think I mentioned it earlier, used to be easier. This used to be kind of a cakewalk battle, just as a warm-up for Antietam. Now this battle is significantly harder to fight. That's fine though, I like that. It's more of a challenge, and I don't know if it's just the fact that I'm on BG Plus, or if it's the fact that all the battles got some reworks with the mod. I'm not doing anything special here other than just trying to get up here and get online. And what I'm really wanting to do is I'm wanting to break my cavalry out through the left side of the screen and get them up into that open area where they can roam free. Cavalry is kind of restricted right here, and if I can get those past the skirmishers, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna bring them up the left side of the screen and try to get them out. My ordnance rifles are finally about to go into action. Skirmishers were taking a lot of fire for me here, so a lot of my skirmishers waver. Some of my skirmishers shatter. Back in the vanilla version of the game, when they shattered, that was bad because they were just gone forever. And now with the mod, one thing I like is they shatter, they run away, but they will reappear in camp. So those skirmishers that are shattering and running away right there. I don't think I've had one shatter yet, but I will. I do have some shatter in this game, and they will return to camp. Okay, at this point I'm pretty happy because my guys are getting into the cover and that their infantry has not come out to try to stop me. A couple of other playthroughs, they had infantry brigades already come over there, and so I was already engaging with infantry brigades at this point. This is strange for me doing the voiceover and watching the battle. I really prefer to do it live. I like my live commentary. I go back and listen to it sometimes. Although it may be a blessing that this happened, because at one point I got surprised and let something slip from my mouth that should not have, and I know that some of the subscribers on my account watching are young people, so perhaps it is a blessing that the recording didn't record and that we're getting a voiceover instead. Because I know what happens now, I'm not going to get surprised and say something. My 12-pounders are moving up. I've got my Napoleons moving forward. My ordnance rifles are going into action, trying to get 2nd Division up without having the far right brigade get out in the open. I'm trying to keep them under cover. Trying to get the cavalry in to do some fighting and then pull them back out, but the cavalry routed right there. Spears is cav routed. Remember, that's not Spears commanding it. He will go back in command of that brigade after Antietam, unless I have to use him to command a division, depending on how many casualties I get at the Battle of Antietam. Getting my skirmishers out on the flank. So this is one thing that skirmishers are good for, getting them out on the flank, getting some fire. The Union has that one artillery battery kind of hanging out there by itself. We're going to take it out. Joseph Anderson is wounded. He's one of my brigade commanders. I do end up with 2 brigade commanders wounded here. Anderson and Colonel Battle in 1st Division both get wounded. Luckily, I'm able to use the reputation points. There's 2 colonels available. Richard Garnett of Pickett's division fame from the Pickett's charge, and then also Barksdale's Mississippi Brigade. So both of these 2 colonels that get wounded, I am able to replace them with 88 level colonels with a reputation by, and so it doesn't really affect their unit's experience too much. That artillery brigade surrendered, and then I thought I had told my cavalry division to get out of there, and then for some reason he stood there and took a pounding, and he took more of a pounding, and he ended up wavering, and I didn't want him to. I thought I had clicked him out of there, and it must have been I just clicked the captured artillery and told it to get out of there. I was holding 2 skirmishers back over here with the artillery, just in the event that they wanted to try to do a run on my artillery, because you never know where that cavalry brigade is going to go. Eventually I'm going to bring them up to begin engaging. So at this point, I'm just trying to methodically move to the east through the woods, keep firing. You're going to see some units waver, some units are going to rout and fall back. That is not a reason to panic. You just kind of have to move other units in to kind of fill the gap and let them recover a little bit and then bring them forward. So my idea here was just to slowly push, and I knew that if I could ever get them out in the open and out of the woods, that I would have this one wrapped up. Right here at this point, it's still a little iffy to me on how this battle is going, because you can see there I have at the very bottom I have a brigade routing backwards. They had a ton of artillery brigades here. They're really pounding me. They have some 2-star infantry brigades up here, and my only advantage is that I'm coming through the cover, but they are really pounding me with that artillery right now. Now, I have no idea why these other 2 brigades of theirs our 3 brigades have not yet responded to this battle. I think maybe my ordnance rifles and my skirmishers have held them in place, which is perfectly fine with me because I really don't need them up there in the woods. They're going to respond kind of late, and that's fine with me. Gonzo Gamer mentions that one strategy is to bring a couple of brigades down low out in front of those guys and kind of stay out of range, but the problem is you still do get pounded with artillery, so you're taking a lot of artillery casualties. Just still trying to move forward. This artillery here is really inflicting a lot of casualties, and so I'm already thinking that the first opportunity I can get, I need to get in there and charge that artillery. Problem is the artillery is protected by that 2-star infantry brigade standing right there on it, and so I've got to force him back, and I've got both of my artillery brigades now, both my 12-pound howitzers and my Napoleons, hitting him with canister. And the idea here was if I could force him back, I could charge those guns and get the guns, or at least take them out. Skirmishers that were protecting my artillery are coming across now to begin engaging that artillery to try to waver it. They just have a lot of guns here. And I'm bringing Cav in to try to harass their guns and get their guns to turn. That's going to create some casualties in my cavalry, but it also keeps them from wavering my infantry brigades coming through the woods. At least that was the general idea. So we are routing one of the artilleries and pushing him back now. And their cav is out in the open, and I've got multiple skirmishers engaging their cav. Got one skirmisher standing over at the top of the hill by himself. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of them, and until you notice them. Ordnance rifles are doing a very good job from their perch over here on this other ridge. I was charging him in. I got that artillery's attention. Unfortunately, he blasted me and routed me. Their cav was routing, and I was going to charge him, but then I pulled off the charge. And at this point is when I basically was starting to get pretty confident that I had the battle wrapped up. You know, there are certain points you can tell that the battle's going to go your way. And I was pretty happy at this point. That big 2-star brigade is wavering, and as soon as he wavers out of there, that'll give me a chance to charge this other artillery brigade and take it out. Once again, I'm still just kind of taking my time, trying to move forward. I take all accuracy perks, so I don't have melee perks except for on the 2-star brigades. They have a tier 2 melee perk. So my days of just pell-mell charging have ended. Then you can't do that with the higher difficulties. You can get away with that on Colonel difficulty and to some extent on Brigadier General difficulty, but the higher difficulty you go, the less you can just charge. And the mod takes care of that too, even with the mod. So he's wavering out now. So we're going to charge this artillery brigade and get it took out. We're going to charge both of these artillery brigades and take them out. And I know that's putting me in close to that other 2-star infantry brigade, but right now that artillery brigade is what's wearing me out. And you know, artillery is like that. You think about giant shotguns shooting huge balls out there at you in canister, and I wouldn't want to charge any artillery either, or take artillery fire. So they're capturing the guns. Don't worry, this idea of fighting the battle and then doing the voiceover is not something that will continue at Antietam. I will guarantee you I will check and make sure my microphone is on. It happened in one other battle here. I believe it was the Battle of Bull Run, first Bull Run. I had laid the headset down, or I actually reached up and did something and it turned off the button because my voiceover was coming through and then suddenly it wasn't. So at this point, people were beginning to route, fall back, waver, and you see I've got one routing in there too, but I've got them out in the open. Everybody, however, is pretty tired, pretty exhausted. Charging Rhodes' brigade down because we have one of our brigades routing back, and if you let it route for too long, unfortunately, they could surrender. In one of my playthroughs with my 2nd Corps, Johnson had 3 brigades surrender right there at the flag, and I'm like, well, that didn't work. So I've got my artillery focusing on those chargers. That, you see the charger there, I'm bringing my entire cav division, all 4 brigades are going to charge him. He's heroic, but he will not be able to stand up to 4 brigades hitting. Once your enemy has been waver in route mode, if you have some cavalry that are still in good condition, like everybody right there is wavering, everybody's routing. So I'm just basically running the cavalry every direction here. I realize I'm taking casualties with my cavalry brigades, but since everybody is routing and wavering, And that brought the battle to an end. I had 3,369 infantry casualties, lost 1 gun, lost 981 cavalry, inflicted 4,046 infantry casualties, took out 60 guns, 2 wounded brigade commanders. And on the goods, you can see, captured a lot of Sharps, captured a lot of whole brigades worth of 61 Springfields, captured 497 revolving rifles. I don't know who was using those, but no wonder they were so deadly. Also, 15 Napoleons. That makes me very happy to see 15 Napoleons. Also got 4 10-pound Parrots and 8 3-inch ordnance rifles. So it was a good haul on the battlefield recovery. Taking a look at the different brigades here, where we stand. So cavalry losses versus kills, I can live with that. We're going to exchange 4,118 prisoners for 1,520 recruits. Mott got his second star, and we do have 2 brigade commanders that we lost that we'll have to replace. And so, I am pretty happy with this result. I want to thank you for watching. I will get this army rebuilt and get ready for the Battle of Antietam.